So I, for my entire life, have really, really struggled with making decisions, and I, can never, land on something. I always, evaluate every option and, go into these rabbit holes of just, pursuing and researching every single viable opportunity, and end up, delaying a decision or not making a decision or just kind of, getting forced into a decision that I don't really want to make. And I've always dealt with this, and so for Smarter Living, I had always wanted to write about decision making and why we fall in these holes. So just when I was doing research and reading the literature, I came across a lot of stuff that you had written, and then I came across FOBO, and I was like, oh my God, you have named this thing that has haunted me my entire life.
That's Tim Herrera. He's a Smarter Living columnist in the New York Times. I'm your host, Patrick McGinnis, and this is FOMO Sapiens, part of the HBR Presents network. My name is Patrick McGinnis, and I'm the guy who invented the term FOMO. That's short for fear of missing out. Today, FOMO is an epidemic, and it's changing us so much that it sort of feels like we're evolving into a new species. But FOMO doesn't have to take over your life. You can find the power to choose what you actually want and the courage to miss out on the rest. I'll show you how right here on FOMO Sapiens. FOMO. 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 Welcome to FOMO Sapiens, the show where I interview people who are changing the world and ask them how they choose from among the many opportunities and options in their busy lives. And while this show may be called FOMO Sapiens, on this episode, we're going to talk about the other FO you need to know, and that is FOBO, or fear of a better option. When you have FOBO, you keep all of your options open, you struggle at making commitments, and you live in a world of maybes. You value optimization and option value above all else. I've never really understood why FOBO never became a thing. I actually invented it at the exact same time that I came up with FOMO, but while FOMO has gone on to become a word celebrity, FOBO has languished in obscurity. Languished, that is, until the summer of 2018, because last summer I was sitting at a restaurant during lunch and my phone basically blew up. All of a sudden, a bunch of people forwarded me a column from the New York Times, the Smarter Living column, and guess what? It was all about FOBO. And so that was the moment when FOBO stepped out of FOMO's shadow and made it into the pages of The Gray Lady. Seeing it in the pages of the Times, but without any mention of its origin story, actually gave me a little FOMO. So I reached out to the author of the piece, and we ended up running an interview on the origins of FOMO and FOBO and the dangers and some potential solutions to FOBO itself. And so today, we are going to explore FOBO with somebody who has clearly been thinking about it as much as I have. And that is with Tim Herrera, who is the founding editor of Smarter Living at the New York Times, where he edits and reports stories about living a better and more fulfilling life. Before joining the Times, he was a reporter and editor at the Washington Post. And prior to that, he worked at AM New York and Newsday. And one more note before we get started. You'll notice that we taped this interview right around the holidays when FOMO and FOBO are running especially strong all over the world, but especially in New York City. So that's why we're agonizing over our holiday party schedules, and it's also probably why we both sound like we're on a sugar high. All right, let's get on with the show. Welcome to FOMO Sapiens.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. I like it bringing energy.
This is great. I am so jazzed about FOBO. It was so amazing to chat with you over the summer. We randomly connected. I'm so hot on this. It's amazing.
I feel like it's really in the zeitgeist. But before we go to FOBO,
yes,
I want to start with the question I like to ask everybody is, we all feel a little FOMO sometimes.
Yeah.
So what turns you into a FOMO sapien?
Oh boy. Honestly, I feel like the older I've gotten, I feel FOMO so much less than I used to. I really, really, really used to feel FOMO about so many things, just missing out on friends events or missing out on work things or comparing yourself to peers and things like that and feeling like you're falling behind. But I don't know, I just feel like the older I've gotten, the more I've realized a lot of that doesn't really matter. And I know you've written about this, but finding out kind of what you actually care about and focusing on those things, I feel has been such a great way for me personally to get around FOMO. And I still feel it obviously about tons of things, but I think in the overall, feeling of FOMO, I've noticed that I'm getting a little more at peace with JOMO.
JOMO, oh my goodness. We're going to come back to JOMO.
We'll get to that one, I know.
We're going to come back to JOMO because I have all these feelings about JOMO.
As do I.
But I get you. I think, by the way, I tend to think maybe I've overcome my FOMO and then something let me tell you what I did Saturday night. I went to 4 different holiday parties.
Oh, so, totally. Wait.
Clearly, that was all FOMO, right?
Right.
Boom.
Yes.
And I don't say goodbye anymore. I don't know if you do this. Like, I've been trying this new thing where I just sneak out the door.
The Irish exit. It's amazing.
Yeah. Exactly. Which, by the way, in Brazilian Portuguese, it's known as the French exit.
Oh.
A saída francesa.
Whoa. Well,
but whether it's French or Irish, that's a new strategy. I don't know if it's rude or if it's what, but that's the way that my FOMO is manifesting itself.
You know what? Can I tell you? So my Saturday. So I feel like this Saturday, like everyone you know in the world had their holiday party, a birthday party, whatever. But what I did Saturday was I stayed at home and I ditched 4 parties that I was supposed to go to. Felt kind of bad, but like that's something like 5 years ago I would have like never even thought about. But I had a nice quiet night in. I watched movies with my cats. Yeah. I like read a little bit, and it was beautiful.
Okay, so I guess the takeaway here is that you truly have evolved, and I haven't. So.
Well, I'm a very evolved FOMO sapien. That's what I'm getting at. Yes.
Okay, so now that I know that you're beyond the FOMO, tell me how FOBO first landed on your desk. How did I end up getting 397 texts that one afternoon? I guess it was in June.
Over the summer.
18.
So I for my entire life have really struggled with making decisions, and I can never land on something. I always evaluate every option and go into these rabbit holes of just pursuing and researching every single viable opportunity, and end up delaying a decision or not making a decision or just kind of getting forced into a decision that I don't really want to make. Mm-hmm. And I've always dealt with this, and so for Smarter Living, I had always wanted to write about decision making and why we fall in these holes. So just when I was doing research and reading the literature, I came across a lot of stuff that you had written, and then I came across FOBO, and I was like, oh my God, you have named this thing that has haunted me my entire life. And it was such a revelation. It's like, oh my God, I'm not alone. This is just a thing that everyone deals with. Wow. And that was my first experience with naming this thing that I has been a monkey on my back for my entire life. I'm so curious. So you were just kind of Googling around, and it just sort of you found it. Yeah, I found it. Yeah. Wow. I guess I'm doing my job right. Your SEO is tremendous. No, I'm going to tell you. The reason why I asked that question is because FOMO has been around. FOMO's got a life of its own. It grew up and went to college. It's got its first starter apartment in Brooklyn, whatever. FOBO, which I always felt was way more a problem. Because it's this kind of thing that tends to, as you mentioned, FOMO goes down over time for most people. FOBO only ramps up as you have more options, right? Totally. Yeah. And so I always thought it was kind of amazing it didn't ever go anywhere, but at the same time, there was this one company that was an appliances company in the Midwest that put it in one of their ads. They did these ads about FOBO, and they called it fear of better options instead of fear of a better option. But anyway, it was a really funny ad, so I reached out to the CMO of that company and was like, this is cool, we should talk. And then the company went bankrupt. Oh, it was called JJ Greg or something like that. But anyway, that was it. And then, so I knew that it was had been at least somewhat discovered by somebody. Right. Then when I saw it in the New York Times, pages of the New York Times, it just threw me a total curveball. And it was kind of new to a lot of readers too. A lot of the reader responses that I got were people who were sort of in the same position that I was, where they knew that they had struggled with making decisions and had always kind of fallen into these endless rabbit holes that don't ever really lead anywhere. So putting a name to that concept and that idea, I think just kind of knowing that one, it's a thing and it's not unique, and two, that there's other people dealing with this and trying to figure out their own way. I think that's really comforting, and that was a lot of the feeling that I got in a lot of responses was okay, it's good to know that other people are struggling with this. I can kind of chill a little bit. Yeah. So tell me, I imagine, a lot of people read your column. Right? Yeah. It's right in front of you. Go into the New York Times, it's the first thing you see. Unless if you're me anyway. And so when you hear back, do you hear from people all over the world? What are the kind of the things that people for that article? What did you hear from people? Yeah, I really did hear. So that article really kind of blew up, and I did hear from a lot of people around the world. I did hear from a fair amount of readers in Brazil, because one of the other terms we had in there was foda, which is a profanity in Brazil, in Portuguese. It's the F word. But no, it's funny, a lot of times when I write about concepts or ideas that are relatively new to a general population, just because I am writing about it at the Times, there's the assumption that I'm sort of a de facto expert in it. And so this one is really funny because the whole conceit of the column was about decision making. And so the majority of the responses were people presenting scenarios and then asking me what decision they should make. And so, like, stuff like all over the spectrum, like people who like wanted to know like what college they should go to, or like whether they should like move in with a significant other. Like I was revisiting some in preparation for this, and one person was asking me to make the decision for them whether they should move to the U.S. And so I was like, guys, like I'm kind of like new to this thing. That's too much pressure for me. But yeah, I mean, people just like want help making decisions. It's just so hard when you have so many options. And it's funny, like you mentioned earlier about kind of FOMO ramping down as you kind of age. And like I feel like FOBO is the exact opposite, because at least in my experience, and this is something that I talked with readers about, was the older you get, the more cognizant you are of the limited time you have left and how important it is to kind of devote your time to the things you care about. But so kind of the corollary to that is like, am I devoting my time to the right things? And like, what are the other things I should be devoting my time to? And that's a whole other spiral of FOBO that it's almost impossible to get out to, because that's existential FOBO, which is a whole other category.
Yes, and in fact, I had somebody tell me, I've talked to lots of people, right, about how they deal with these things, and I've been trying to figure out, at least expand my understanding. And I had a woman tell me that her father uses this metric called quality time remaining, which is thinking about like how much more time do I have to live well, which I was just like, I gotta tell you, I get good on you. You're like a hardy, you're probably like Northern European or something. But like that's just like stress inducing for me.
Yeah, we gotta pull it back. I'm not trying to go there tonight.
Yeah, so I, as I think about that, it's interesting, and I'm curious, have you tried? So in the article that we did, we talk about solutions for FOBO, and one of the things that I talk about is asking the watch, which is when, for those of you who are listening who haven't done this, is basically the idea that like I'm trying to decide, and I do this all the time, by the way, like chicken or fish.
Yeah.
Okay, like I like them both. I don't know. It's like, oh my God, so much stress.
Right.
And so I will say, okay, the right half of my watch is the chicken, the left is the fish, and I look down at my watch, see where the second hand is, and choose.
Yeah.
Have you tried that?
I remember you telling me about that.
It's so good.
It's so good. I do love that, and I love kind of like turning these arbitrary decisions over to just kind of the universe, because I feel like a lot of these decisions are so low stakes.
Yes.
And like the delta between like an average decision you could make and the very best decision you could make in like these low stakes situations is basically nothing. So we stress over like chicken or fish for like half an hour when we're just hungry and we just want to eat something. And when we actually are eating that thing, we want to remember the struggle we had with the decision. So just like make a decision. So like I'm all about like flipping a coin. The watch thing is amazing. Just like turning things over, just like whatever, like it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme, and it's just such low stakes, like just make a decision. And that was one of the things that in the article that I wrote about was the MFD, the mostly fine decision, which is kind of my approach to, evaluating our options for a given decision and choosing the one that is has the minimum outcome that you would be okay with, the minimal acceptable outcome. And like that is something that like I have definitely adopted in my own life, and something that I like still advocate for people when I'm talking about things like this. Because again, like the differences between like average decisions and incredible decisions for most things in life is minimal, like the time and energy you invest in stressing over a decision versus what you would gain by just making something that you're not 100% about, like it's no trade-off. It's totally worth it.
And then you free up the time. It's the thing, if you've, like the average person makes 30,000 decisions in a day.
Yeah.
If you're spending more than a millisecond deciding on like whether to add, like whether it should be oat milk or have, by the way, you live in New York City, like oat milk is everywhere. It's like,
and you know what? I got swept up in it.
You're the oat milk. Okay, the oat milk. Then
I'm all
you can have
about
the oat milk. I reject its popularity, but if you think about these things too much, you don't have room to think about like what's my purpose in life, right?
Right.
I have this friend who I interviewed recently, who is a really interesting woman. She's a Harvard MBA, and did not go into the business world. She's a relationship counselor and works with people. And I think she also went to Harvard Law, and she's this very educated woman.
Yeah.
And decided to choose what made her happiest, which was doing that, because she had done those things kind of, probably because she felt this pressure,
right, yeah,
and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And she says, her name's Yael Melamed, and she says, I don't ask myself, is it good enough? I ask myself, is there enough good? Which I thought was really. It's a great little heuristic that you can carry around with you.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I wrote an article 2 or 3 weeks ago about our cognitive attentional capacity, which is
Sorry.
right. So it's just about the kind of ambient things in our brains that are taking up space that really shouldn't. And that article was focused on our cell phones and laptops and devices, and how even if we put them away, even if we turn them off, they're still kind of occupying this space in our brain that should be spent doing work or thinking about things you care about or whatever else. And I feel like decision making is one of those things that really can occupy this outsized part of our attentional capacity, and it's just so easy to get bogged down. But it's also one of those things, like a couple of decisions here and there can just free up so much of your attention to really focus on things that you actually do care about.
Yes, I totally agree.
Yeah.
And the other thing that you can do if you want to feel some relief from all this is try to embrace JOMO. So have you noticed, I'm curious if you know, like JOMO's everywhere right now. Like JOMO, seriously, it's kind of like, I've gotten so many inbounds of JOMO. JOMO.
Yeah.
And so JOMO is joy of missing out. Mm-hmm. And it's been around for a while. In fact, the guy who invented it lives in New York. I'm trying to so if you're listening, Emil Dash, I want you to come on the show. Yeah. But what's your thought on JOMO?
I am extremely pro JOMO, and I feel like that's like sort of the flip side of the coin about FOMO. Like, I feel like JOMO sort of increases as you age in a good way. Like, I think, like, you know, like we're talking about our weekend plans. Like, you know, 5 years ago, if I were spending a night, you know, a Saturday night in, I'd be like, oh my God, like, what are all my friends up to? I'm just wasting my time here. But now, because I know that, like, I really appreciate getting rest and feeling rested and, you know, spending time with my cats and having time to be alone and kind of center myself, something that I know that I appreciate. And so the trade-off between not going out, seeing people, but staying in and kind of treating myself, like, to me, that's a no-brainer because I know that's what I care about. Like, I'll see those people again, but to have a free Saturday night totally by yourself just to, like, be with your own thoughts and recharge a little bit from the week, like, that to me is like one of the most valuable things. And, you know, I think, again, as we get older, we realize the value of time and how it's slipping away. And, you know, I think, you know, time is better spent doing the things that you know you genuinely and sincerely love rather than things you feel like you should be doing or things that you're obligated to do. And I think, like, that's like a sort of symptom of FOMO is we're doing these things and sort of have an obligation or just like we feel like we should be doing them. But, you know, I think taking a step back and realizing and being sincere with yourself about what you actually want to be doing and what you actually want to spend your time with, like, that's like the FOMO cure, I think.
Yeah. So I've been thinking about JOMO because I agree with that, with everything you said. I think it's right. Like, if you can get to a place where you can observe what's happening, it's kind of like being detached, right? Like, you know, if you're like really good at meditation, or I guess I don't know if being good at meditation is the right way to say it, but if you meditate and you can just watch things pass by and you don't focus on them and you're detached from them, great. So for JOMO, I think it can work. There's two things that I kind of caveats that I put on it. The first is, you can only have JOMO if you know what the thing you're missing is. So, like, it's like, if you've been to 1,000 restaurants, nightclubs, or whatever, if you it's like, okay, I know what that is, like, did it, you know, got the t-shirt, like, I'm good missing out today. Whereas it's like, oh, you know, if it's something that's a little bit like you've never gotten a chance to do, I think JOMO's a little tougher. That's the A. B is, I think JOMO's great for, like, small things in life. It's like the Friday night in. It's not so good about, like, I'm having joy of missing out on, you know, fulfilling my true destiny. You know what I mean? Like, or like finding my soulmate. Like, nobody's like, glad I didn't find my soulmate. I'm just, you know, like maybe you may, you know, like, you know, maybe you will or you won't, but, like, that's just not a JOMO-inducing event. So, So that's how I think about it. So I think it's a good target, but with the realization that, like, in people, you know, everybody uses these terms. They, like, brag about, like, I've got so much JOMO right now. And I'm like, you know what? Like, just keep your JOMO to yourself.
Well, no, it's true. Like, it is a sliding scale. And, you know, I wrote a story last week, and I spoke with Greg McCowan, who wrote one of my favorite books in the world, Essentialism. And, you know, his whole thing, like, his entire, you know, career is about, you know, really finding the things that are core to yourself and core to your identity and kind of shedding everything else. And I think that is, like, such a revelation. And when I first read that book, I, like, was just, my mind was blown, because it seems like such a simple, like, throwaway idea, but once you really dig into it and really start implementing it, like, you really do see the value of, like, knowing who you are, knowing what you care about, and being fine with like letting other things slide away. And I think that like that and FOMO, I think, are so inherently tied together, because once you sort of like realize what you're okay with missing out and what things that you would feel bad about missing out, like knowing the difference between those two, again, seems like such a casual throwaway idea, but really harnessing that knowledge to like direct your life and devote your energy and time to the things that you know are actually going to have a genuine impact, rather than things you kind of do for the sake of doing them. Like, I think that's like the holy grail. And like, obviously, like, I'm not good at that. Like, nobody's good at that. But I think that like aspiring to that place is like, I think it's something that everybody should be like working toward.
Yes, definitely. And one thing we can do to work towards that is read smarter living. So I was curious, we were talking before before the interview that I read the New York Times every day. I've been a subscriber for many years.
Great.
Yeah,
Keep reading.
The New York Times. Well, it's just great, right? I think it's, we have so many choices in terms of news. And by the way, if it's not like, if you don't want to pay for news, like you get tons of free news. But if you have a place that has kind of consistently good content, it just adds a lot to your life. And you can, instead of looking at 50 things, you can look at that. But I also get this feeling that the Smarter Living column always is like one step ahead of me. It's like, do you know what I mean? You're like putting the article that I should have, that I didn't even know I needed that day.
Right,
but then I'm like,
right.
oh my goodness, like, it's like, it'd be like just something that it sort of like hits me. How do you do that? Are you like looking at SEO? Like, what's your secret?
So I get emails about that exact idea literally every day. And like, honestly, like the most common email I get every Monday morning, so I in the Smarter Living newsletter, it comes out every Monday morning.
Yes.
And I always ask readers for feedback or ideas, or I just invite them to chat or comment. And something I hear time after time, no matter what the topic is, I hear from like literally hundreds of readers who are saying, this is exactly what I needed to hear today. How did you know this is what I needed? And like every time I get one of those emails, like it warms my heart, because like I think what really resonates with readers about Smarter Living is that there's a real vulnerability to it and a real relatability. So a lot of stuff you read in like service journalism or like self-help type stuff, a lot of it comes from a place of having prescriptive, definitive answers from the leading world experts. And Smarter Living is kind of taking a little different tack, which is we're all just kind of in this together, figuring out as we go, screwing up along the way, but just kind of trying our best. And that's really the tone and the philosophy that we built Smarter Living around. And I think it really resonates with readers to like know that like, like I have this like, I wrote a column about this summer, that there's this running joke in like my circle of friends that anytime I screw up, like I'm late or I waste money or I do something stupid, everyone automatically says like, oh, and you're the Smarter Living editor? And like, yeah, like sure, it's an easy dunk, fine. But like, yeah, like, I think there's being vulnerable and acknowledging our faults and things we're bad at, I think just kind of opens up real paths to self-improvement, whatever form that takes. And so when I write these stories and get these emails from people who are like, this is exactly what I needed today, like I'm like, oh, that's amazing, because that's what we're going for. Like I hope that every time I write something that is what you need that day, like that's exactly the emotion that we're going for and what we're trying to be a service for.
Now, do you ever get like any hate mail? I mean, there's a lot of crazy people on the internet. Like, so tell me about that.
So Smarter Living is very specifically designed so that we are not writing off the news. We don't write about politics. We don't cover the news of the day. However, the most controversial thing that we run, weirdly enough, I didn't know this was a controversial thing, well, to such a degree, is I have a writer named Jolie Kerr, who's a cleaning expert. And
yeah, she was in this week, right?
Yeah, that's right. And she writes pretty frequently, and a lot of times, it's cleaning advice, around specific themes or topics or ideas or whatever. And she'll usually give a product recommendation along with like how to actually clean a given mess. And again, I knew this was controversial, but I didn't know to this degree. But the most hate mail I get across anything that I run, anything one of my writers writes, is about people who are really passionate about non-chemical cleaning products.
Oh, yes.
They absolutely jump down my throat, want to get me fired, say that I'm unqualified for running these types of things. And this is Jolie's world. She deals with this all the time. Wow. But the first time she wrote something for me where we recommended products, I was totally taken aback. I had to step back because just the volume it was overwhelming, and like what are people gonna hate on me for? Like, oh, that was a dumb like piece of advice. Like, fine, but man, it's real intense, and you'd be shocked at the viciousness in that world, man. It's crazy.
Wow, yeah, because I guess these people. I mean, I think about. She wrote an article about how to like clean your laptop, right?
Yeah.
And it'd be like if you recommended, if it wasn't anything but vinegar, like somehow you're gonna poison yourself, and like you're like literally gonna kill millions of people.
It's
and
crazy.
Not to dismiss people's concerns, but, but there's a way to express yourself without being like angry.
People really just jumped down your throat. I had no idea, but now I'm used to it. And like, today, like I don't think we ran any product recs today, but yeah, like every time it's like, okay, well, got to brace for this. It's coming.
Wow.
Weird that cleaning is the most controversial topic Smarter Living covers.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
That is actually like, that's really,
it's wild.
That's very. Do you mostly? But is it largely domestic? Is it global? Like, what is your kind of when you hear from people? Are they from all over the place?
It really is all over the world. Like the Times in general is pursuing a global audience.
Yeah.
So we try to write in a way that we're able to reach readers around the world. But Smarter Living, again, because we don't write off the news or write off this is the day. It's very kind of something for everybody, and we try not to write for a specific geographic area or demographic. It's something that anybody can take advice away from. And so as a result, we really do have readership all around the world, and I hear from people all around the world, which is really, really rewarding.
That is amazing. And by the way, if you do email Tim, I'm curious about this. So you have like kind of an email filter that comes out that I've seen a couple people use over the years, but not a lot of people use these. It's kind of like you get an email back and it says, listen, thank you for your email. Like if you need this, you check out this. If you need that, check out this. I read my emails, but I may not respond. But just know that I read that. You must get a high amount of email. Like, does that even work? Do you find that helpful? Have you ever thought about like outsourcing it? Like, how do you manage email? Because email to me is my number one scourge in my life. And now, of course, you add in text messages, WhatsApp, all the social media. Like, it's a lot. Like, how do you, why did you do that? Does it work? What was your recommendation beyond that?
Oh my God. I hope you have like 3 hours because email is all I ever want to talk about. So I am infamously, notoriously bad at email, and I don't like to do it, but it's so central and core to my job that because I'm so bad at it, that like, occasionally I have miss like important things or miss a deadline or whatever, just because I'm so bad at email. And the main reason is that I just get such a volume that I can't keep up. Like I was on a panel the other night talking about freelance pitching, and I get like probably between like 100 and 300 freelance pitches a week. And so that's on top of like the work that actually I'm doing and that I, from coworkers and all that. But so the auto reply that you're talking about, I learned this trick from Adam Grant, who is an absolute genius, smartest person working in this space. But I cold emailed him last year, just like say, hey, just a chat, like, just see what he's up to, see if he wants to, do stuff for Smarter Living or whatever. And I got this immediate auto reply that's like, hey, thanks for your email. Know that I read it, but I can't respond to everybody. Here are 5 options for the 5 most common emails I get. And one was like, if it's a media request, do this. If it's a booking, do this, blah, blah, blah. And it just blew my mind. Because I'd never thought about that weirdly. And so we got lunch, and I asked him about it, and it's just incredible. I set mine up earlier this month because one of my resolutions for next year is to be better at email. And this is one of the ways that I'm trying to build structures in my life so that I can take decisions away and automate that part of it. And even in just a couple of weeks that I've had it running, it's been incredible. Like, I don't have to worry about like, oh, did I email back that person, or do I need to get back there, or did I direct them to the right person? Because it's just like taken care of. Wow. And it's a decision I don't have to make anymore. And I set that up in conjunction with some filters and separate inboxes for emails that I know need urgent responses or whatever. But I'm like totally like hacking my own email productivity approach, and it has been incredible. And like I just want to like I've been tweeting about it nonstop for weeks, and I think everybody should do it.
Wow.
I think email is like a fundamentally bad and problematic product, and I think it was built for a different internet and has not evolved with the current internet. And I think that we're all suffering because of that. Nobody likes email. Everyone, study after study after, I'm writing a story about this, but every study you look at talks about like the cognitive decline that email brings and the lack of productivity that email causes and how nobody likes it, nobody can keep up with it, everyone hates it, and there has to be a better solution. But this is one of the ways that I'm trying to build a solution for myself to get around my own issues with email. It's been amazing. It's the one thing this month I'm like so excited about.
Do you know this concept of the wounded healer? Have you heard of this?
Wounded healer?
Okay,
no.
This is amazing. So it's the same woman, Yael, that I just told you about, Melamed. She told me, we had this long conversation about FOMO, FOBO, and all this other stuff because I'm picking her brain. And she told me that Carl Jung came up with this concept of the wounded healer, which is the best person to help somebody is the person who is just one step ahead in their own healing.
Oh yeah,
so like you're the wounded healing for email. And it's funny because Adam Grant, I've not met Adam Grant, but when my first book came out, it was an entrepreneurship book, and a student of his put me in touch with him, and he was like, listen, I'm too busy.
Yeah.
But he did it in such a direct and nice way that I was like, you know what, man?
Yes.
You do you.
100%.
I respect that. Like,
100%.
I get you.
Yes.
Like, and it was just vis-a-vis the people, and I could name names that I'm not going to, but I people that like are, when I was, promoting my book, and somebody would be like, come on my podcast, and then they would like ghost you, and you're like, wait, you invited me on your show, and now you're ghosting me, and it's like, and you feel so, and I'm so busy. You know what? Nobody's that busy.
Totally. It like honestly it's like changed my life, changed my approach to work. I mean, Anna Grant is just such a genius, but it's incredible. Wow.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yes. So we can move on.
Now that we got the email hack, I imagine people send you cool gadgets all the time to try and test. Am I right or am I wrong?
So we aren't allowed to accept things like that. But they do send them to Wirecutter, which is a New York Times company, and they actually work directly with Smarter Living. That's our product review and recommendation site. It's amazing, wirecutter.com. Check it out. But so they handle all of the like gadget reviews and product recommendations. It's an amazing crew. Like, I don't know if you read Wirecutter, but it launched like in 2011, and I've been reading it since then, but their whole thing is like, they just dive super deep into like one category, one product, and look at everything on the market and then come up with one single...
I need that.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Where has this been? Oh my goodness.
It's incredible. Like, I don't buy anything without checking Wirecutter. Like, way before I worked with them, like, it's just like an incredible site with incredible people. I think it's the greatest like review website like that was ever conceived. It's amazing.
Wow.
But it's funny, they just moved, or are in the process of moving to a warehouse in Long Island City. And it's this huge office space because they need so much space to test all the gadgets and test everything. And so a couple of weeks ago, they invited a couple of folks on Smarter Living to come out to check out the space. But that day, they happened to be reviewing mattresses. So in the warehouse, they just had this like field of mattresses with like 20 or 30 mattresses just set up, and people are just like filtering in all day, just like laying down, taking a little siesta, just like hanging out. It was incredible. And like, that's their process. They just bring in a ton of people, look at everything. It's incredible. Yeah. But like, how many companies are like reviewing 20 mattresses and just opening it up to the company?
That is a great, that's another, see, the recommendations are flowing now.
Yeah.
Give me a gadget that everybody should have that maybe we don't even know we need.
Actually, I'll give you two.
Okay.
One is a very expensive one is a very cheap one. The very expensive one is, I think wireless earbuds are an absolute game changer. And if you're like a commuter, I think like they're the biggest thing you can do for your general morning happiness. Like you're not fumbling with cables. You're not like accidentally getting unplugged when they catch your cable on your jacket. I bought mine like over the summer, and like it's been an absolute game changer. Even just like the little Apple ones, or like upgrade, get like nice ones or whatever. But I think they're amazing, and I've recommended them so many times to so many people. Recommended them in Smarter Living. I think they're incredible and totally change the way you navigate the world.
Totally.
So it's the expensive one, and then the cheap one. Well, cheap-ish is, this is another thing that I've recommended like 6 times in Smarter Living is Tweezerman Slant Tips Tweezers. And they're just a pair of tweezers, but they cost $17 to $20, which, yes, is expensive for a dumb little pair of tweezers, but they're incredible. And it's one of those things that you didn't realize you needed and how bad you have it right now until you experience it. It's like watching a movie in 4K when you've only, seen like low HD or something. Like it's total like different experience. But so these little tweezers, $17, buy Amazon or whatever. But it's just something you never knew you needed. And then once you have it, once you cross that bridge, you're like, I don't know how I lived before these.
You're like, oh my God, how did I prune my bonsai? Like what?
It's amazing, yeah. But I like set them out for like Christmas gifts. Like I buy like 3 pairs in my house. It's amazing. And it seems like such a dumb little thing, but it's like one of those tiny little things that can have such huge impact because something you use regularly. So having a really, really nice thing, it's amazing. But the Tweezerman Slant Tip Tweezers.
And pro tip on the wireless earphones. So I have AirPods, and I have. I was actually was on a flight. I fell asleep on a flight from Amman, Jordan to Cairo. Fell out of my ear. I woke up. I was very out of it.
Yeah.
Went through customs. Realized that I had lost one of them.
Oh no.
Now, I found out going forward, you can actually use Find My iPhone to find your lost.
What?
I know. Now, it was too
That is
late for me.
crazy.
This was like
Right.
not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I went to the Apple Store. They give you another one for, I guess, $75, which is, you know, it's not the worst thing in the world. But know going forward that if you lose it, you can actually use Find My iPhone.
I had no idea. That is an amazing tip.
Yeah, it's like, well,
that's going to be Smarter Living next week.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, put it in there.
That's
as long as
wild,
but I do want attribution. I mean,
yes,
that's
exactly.
important. You know, it's,
that's amazing. I love that.
Fear of losing my my AirPod. Falma. All right. So Tim, this is the show about finding the power to choose what you actually want in business and life, and finding the courage to miss out on the rest. As a man who spends his life liberating us from our day-to-day difficulties.
That's my job description. That's correct.
What's your, you know, what's the key to being decisive?
So kind of take it back what we were saying earlier about, you know, being able to free yourself of FOMO by knowing who you are and what's important to you. You know, getting back to that book, Essentialism by Greg McKeown, and this is just top of mind because I was just talking with him last week, but two things that he advocates and that he kind of reiterated when we were talking are two things that I've found really, really useful in my life and something that I've written a lot about and try to tell people when I can. So one is trying to project a conversation with yourself in the future around a given topic or a given idea or a given state of life, like where you want to be. And so for me, like what that means is trying to so let's say like we're looking like 5 years advanced, like what are the things you want to accomplish in 5 years? And like that's like, you know, one of those like 5-year plan, like general things that we all kind of like know in the abstract. But there was a handful of studies that I wrote about earlier this year that looked at the impact it can have on your decision making now when you actually put in genuine cognitive effort to imagine what your life will be like in X years or at X place. And so rather than like writing down like, oh, in 5 years I want to like have written a book and like have a new job and get a raise, like rather than do that, like think about the lifestyle and the life that you want in 5 years rather than specific goals, but what's the life status that you want and kind of work backward. And one of the most recent time I wrote about this was as it relates to financial decisions, because there's a lot of studies that say people are better at saving long term when they imagine what life they want to have rather than a specific dollar amount or a specific 401k amount or whatever. And they found that when people imagine what kind of life they want to have rather than the amount of money they want to have, they're much, much better at saving for the long term. And so I think really like it's kind of a silly exercise, but like actually like trying to have a conversation with yourself 5 years in the future and really putting your place or trying to step into those shoes can really have like a very profound impact. And it's something that I've really had a lot of success with, and I do that a lot. And the other thing is 2 or 3 weeks ago I wrote about why we kind of start things that we never finish. We pick up projects and, leave them halfway done or kind of lose interest. And, one of the kind of primary reasons we do that is because we severely underestimate the time and energy commitment that things are going to take. And so this is another thing that I spoke with Greg about. His kind of rule of thumb is that anytime he's evaluating a new project or idea and deciding whether he wants to take it on, he'll lay out whatever he thinks is the most accurate time investment that'll take, and then he multiplies it by 3. And then he bases his decision on the product of that. And again, it's one of those things that like sounds dumb, like that sounds like overkill. And he said when he first learned about it, he thought the same thing, that like, oh, sure, like maybe like a 50% increase, like that's reasonable. But multiplying it by 3, and he said once he started doing that, it proved 100% correct, and it actually like changed the way that he evaluates options and decisions. And I think that just getting back to being realistic with what our expectations are and what the things we want to invest our time in, that's one thing. But then really being honest about the actual time it's going to take rather than the time that we think it's going to take. And I struggle with that all the time. Like I'm a very bad procrastinator. I'm always running late, all that stuff. But, I think being more realistic about the time investment that things will take rather than the kind of emotional investment, what we kind of want to feel, what we want to get out of it, can actually lead to a lot more practical and realistic decision.
That's super interesting. It's funny because I've always, whenever I do to-do lists, I always include time as one of the on the right column, so that I can add up how much time it's going to take. I don't triple it, but I've always been like, I think that's a really good way to think about prioritization as well.
It really is. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so lots of good stuff here. I could keep you all day, but obviously
it's great.
you have I want to have you to have your JOMO from from my interview.
I have to go see my cats after this, you know.
There's some tweezing that needs to happen.
Exactly. It's my night today. That's right.
So tell everybody who wants to follow you and continue learning where they should go to find out more about you and to follow you.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm twitter.com/Tim Herrera, Herrera. I'm on Instagram. Handle is Tim_Herrera. You can find me at the Time. Just Google New York Times, Tim Herrera. All my stuff is there. Shoot me an email, tim@nytimes.com. You'll get my auto reply, but I'll read your email. But yeah, shoot me a note. I love interacting with readers, love talking with people, love hearing new ideas and how people are implementing things. Please, just totally reach out. Love to meet new people.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
FOMO. And now it's time for the FOMO moment of the show. This is the time where I talk about FOMO and its role in pop culture, or tell you about something that's giving me FOMO. But because this week's show was all about FOBO, I am rebranding this portion to the FOBO moment of the show. And I found some interesting stats, actually. LinkedIn found that FOBO is a huge problem in the workforce. In fact, 68% of workers have FOBO when they think about what might be out there for them outside of their current job. And they actually use the word FOBO in the press release. So thanks, LinkedIn. I appreciate it. So if you have these feelings, and it sounds like most people do, don't be afraid to look outside, find what else is out there, and stop worrying about the FOBO and actually get into action. FOMO. If you have an idea for the FOMO moment of the week, or if you have a question, reach out to me at letsconnect@patrickmcginnis.com or send me a tweet at pjmcginnis. You can also take the official FOMO Sapiens diagnostic at patrickmcginnis.com/FOMO-quiz and find out if you're a FOMO Sapiens or a FOBO Sapiens. FOMO Sapiens is part of the HBR Presents network. The show is produced by AW360 and recorded in New York City. Theme music is by Mike McGinnis. If you like today's show, please be sure to subscribe, rate it, and recommend it to your friends. And as always, you can find me at patrickmcginnis.com. You can also take the official FOMO diagnostic at patrickmcginnis.com/FOMO-quiz to find out if you're a FOMO Sapiens.